Hey guys, Justin here. So, I'm going to the AMC in Disney Springs again in Lake Buena Vista, Florida to go see Deadpool and Wolverine today. Hey look, it's The Greatest Showman! So, Deadpool and Wolverine is a sequel to the 20th Century Studios produced Deadpool from 2016 and Deadpool 2 from 2018. This movie is directed by Shawn Levy, and it's the 34th addition to the MCU and the only one to release in 2024. This movie stars Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, Emma Corrin, Lorena Baccarin, Robert Delaney, Leslie Uggams, Aaron Stanford, and Matthew McFadden. So I touched on this a little bit when I went to go see Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but it's so interesting to just see Disney starting to get into like more mature topics within their movies. This is the first time that an R-rated movie will be directly distributed under Walt Disney Studios, not with a different name. So this should be interesting. So I actually arrived 3.5 hours early today. So in the meantime, shopping. I also had another thought. This is going to be my first ever R-rated movie review. I think maybe with the introduction of this one, I might start doing a lot more R-rated movie reviews. Who knows? Only time will tell. Let's go! So something that I just found out, they had popcorn buckets specifically for the Deadpool and Wolverine release, but they don't sell it here because it looks very interesting. And it's kind of a joke that they did. The Dune 2 popcorn buckets also kind of have a little funny look to them. But makes sense.
I'm gonna take what's yours and never give it back.
Movie's over. I'll get into further detail. All right, now I'm back at Flamingo Crossings, and I feel like that this was the best spot to do my review in because it's nice and quiet and nobody can hear me giving spoilers. Also, spoiler warning. Let's get into it. So, after losing out on countless opportunities in his life, Wade Wilson decides to live a happy domestic life in an alternate timeline in his same universe. Except his girlfriend from the previous films, Vanessa, is not with him anymore, unfortunately. This timeline manipulation that he does catches the attention of the Time Variance Authority, which was introduced in the first season of the Loki TV show. With that, a man called Paradox appears. He gives Wade an opportunity to join the sacred timeline to become an Avenger, since his timeline was close to annihilation without their anchor being Logan, aka Wolverine. So after being suited up, Wade steals a temp pad, which is this time travel device that was introduced in Loki, so he could find a Wolverine to help him. He spoke to several different variants, and none of them wanted to help him, but only one variant didn't bother to put up a fight with him. Wade discovers that this Logan destroyed his entire universe, and he becomes both intrigued yet horrified because of his fourth wall-breaking admiration for the Wolverine character. And Wade becomes frustrated knowing that the character Paradox has literally no issue destroying timelines so quickly. He realizes that the Time Variance Authority has no awareness of what's going on. It's basically just like doing all this stuff behind the company's back. But before Wade and Logan have a chance to actually fight Paradox, they're pruned, which is basically dissolved and transported to a place called the Void. So when they both end up there, Wade and Logan end up fighting in the Void until they're stopped by Johnny Storm from the Fantastic Four, who warns of danger that's incoming. Eventually, the three guys are caught and brought to the lair of Cassandra Nova, who is the twin sister of Charles Xavier of the X-Men. And she was transported to the Void at an early age, and she kind of became the gang leader, in a way, inside the Void. And her lair is inside a corpse of Ant-Man, but he's like made super huge. So Wade thinks that she's full of crap because he's not convinced that she's like a gang leader here. But then Logan and Wade witness Johnny Storm's death, like right in front of their eyes, where Cassandra just just yanks his skin off of Johnny. And it's like, oh, okay, she's not messing around. And then Cassandra demonstrates her mind manipulation powers to further intimidate Wade. But even with these circumstances, Wade and Logan are able to escape before being eaten by this creature named the Alioth, which is like this entity who feeds on things that have been left in the void. After the two of them escape, Wade and Logan come across another Deadpool variant who is very unusually kind. And this variant directs them to the location of this resistance force that they have inside of the void. And this journey reveals to Logan that Wade has absolutely no idea if he can even save Logan's timeline. And they fight inside of a Honda, which is very funny because they just it's like almost like an advertisement that they drop in the middle of a movie. Kind of given the nature of Deadpool, I'm not really surprised. After the fight takes place in this car, they become extremely exhausted, and then later that evening, an unknown person who is revealed to be X-23, who actually goes by the name Laura, and she drives the car away to go bring them to the resistance base. And while Wade and Logan are there, they meet Elektra, Blade, and Gambit. These three and Wade want to fight for a chance to leave the void. Logan just doesn't care at all until he speaks with Laura, and she kind of convinces him in a way to go along with this plan, even though he feels like all hope is lost. So then, the next day, all five of them return to Cassandra to fight. The only way that they're able to defeat Cassandra is by getting this helmet from another character called the Juggernaut, which was seen in Deadpool 2, but this is a different version of the Juggernaut character. And a fight breaks out with everybody at Cassandra's lair and the other characters, but Logan and Wade decide to go confront Cassandra directly. But Logan ends up becoming incapacitated because of the mind manipulation powers that Cassandra has. Cassandra tries really hard to manipulate Logan's memories, but she ends up failing, and Wade's able to get the helmet on her head. And with this, they were almost able to kill her, but then Logan starts to have a change of heart where he doesn't want to disappoint the legacy of Charles Xavier, even though he was unable to save him. And so eventually Wade is convinced to let her stay alive. Cassandra kind of gives in and opens up a portal with a sling ring that she got from a Doctor Strange variant that she killed in the void. And this allows them to escape, and both Wade and Logan go into Wade's timeline. Not long after that, they discover that Paradox has created a Time Ripper to destroy the timeline without the TVA's permission inside of Wade's timeline. So Cassandra uses this opportunity to obtain more power so she can destroy timelines on her own. Oh, by the way, she escapes. And Paradox is tortured by Cassandra in order to take control, but he also helps Wade and Logan to figure out how exactly the device is supposed to be broken. So there's two separate streams of electricity that need to, I guess you would say, connect. The amount of electrical power that's contained within these two rods is enough to kill the person who is crossing those streams together. At first, Wade goes in by himself to sacrifice himself, and then Logan calls him a fucking idiot for it, and Logan wanted to do it. Both of them end up working together, and they use their bodies as electrical conductors. So they're able to cross the streams to destroy the device and then kill Cassandra in the process. Afterwards, Hunter B-15 has Paradox arrested for all of the actions that he did behind the TVA's back. And Logan's work as the anchor being is enough to help Wade's timeline recover. With the motivation of Logan, Wade and his girlfriend Vanessa are able to reconcile, and then eventually Wade and Logan actually become friends with each other, which honestly, I think it was really nice that happened, because given how the two characters interacted with each other previously, it was never really direct. But now that both characters have the opportunity to interact like this, I thought it was cool. So that's pretty much all of Deadpool and Wolverine, the extra stuff. So in the credits, there was a compilation of behind the scenes stuff from the X-Men franchise that was produced originally by 20th Century Fox. And they showed that with Green Day's Good Riddance, Time of Your Life playing in the background, which I thought was actually pretty cool, because they still acknowledged like that specific era of Marvel movies while still kind of like gearing towards the future. And then later on at the very end of the credits, it's revealed like the actual reason why Johnny Storm was killed by Cassandra. And then Deadpool just happens to show like security cam footage of Johnny saying all of the stuff that Wade had told Cassandra earlier in the movie. And it was insanely hilarious to watch. I just want to get through one take without messing it up. All right. So the notes ran out on my Apple Watch, so I had to create a new page so I could keep reading it. A few surprises that happened in this movie was Chris Evans as Johnny Storm from the Fantastic Four. And it's funny because he already played Captain America in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I thought it was pretty cool that he came back to play a different character this time around. There was also Jennifer Garner as Elektra, Wesley Snipes as Blade, and Channing Tatum as Gambit. In addition, there were also Ryan Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively, played Lady Deadpool, and Henry Cavill was introduced here as Cavalrine, and they also made like a slight reference towards DC, which I thought was insanely hilarious. So here's some critiques that I have, which aren't like normal critiques, because I didn't really have anything bad to say about this movie. Just some things that I've noticed. I do think the self-awareness that's presented within this movie does actually work to the benefit of the story, because it kind of brings a little breath of fresh air that I haven't previously seen in a Marvel Studios movie. Even though in She-Hulk Attorney at Law, they did make some self-aware references to Disney Plus as a platform, they didn't like go completely in on the fourth wall breaks. And also, compared to the two previous Deadpool movies, there wasn't much sexual content that was featured in here, which you don't always need that to create a good story. But it's just so interesting because it was featured very prominently in the two previous movies. But then this time around, they only made innuendos and very strong references. And I thought it was pretty interesting because, like I said before, this is the first R-rated movie that Walt Disney Studios has directly distributed and not putting it under a different name. So it's interesting to see what they did for an R-rated movie in terms of like what other studios would do. Like, I just think it's fascinating given how the company operates. And this movie is also set in a unique position where they're aware that the franchise is a little bit more fragmented after Avengers Endgame came out. And there's not really a central story now that's tying the entire franchise together. If you're not familiar with Deadpool as a character, his self-aware nature can become a little bit exhausting because you just kind of want to enjoy the story for what it is without having to really think about like all the specific storytelling elements that go into that, and then all of the real life events that have taken place around these stories being produced. And it kind of throws you off, especially when you try to embrace the more serious moments of this movie, because you're kind of focused on like how Deadpool is perceiving all of these events happening, and all the other characters are just kind of existing in that space, but not like really observing it the same way as Deadpool does. But that's Deadpool's character, really. He thrives on fourth wall breaks and just like saying whatever comes to his mind and not really holding it back. But I don't really think that's a bad thing given like what his character is supposed to be. Other people who aren't super big into comics may find that a little off-putting, but you know what? It's not really for everybody. And I think they kind of realize that in a way, but at the same time, we're still trying to make it appeal to as many people as they possibly could. The marketing campaign for this movie has been pretty wild, and I think that actually kind of works pretty well for this. There's a lot of stuff that I wasn't expecting them to do, but then I was like, oh, they actually did it. I can't really think of any specific examples at the moment in terms of the marketing, but I've been looking on social media and on TV and other places, and they have definitely marketed the hell out of this movie. I think that's actually the first time that I've mentioned movie marketing in one of my reviews, because sometimes that stuff tends to go unnoticed, but it really does help to get more people to go see something, because that's literally the entire point of it. The two previous Deadpool movies, with everything that was going on, they never really specifically wanted to have like a central theme to everything that was going on, because it didn't seem like those specific stories needed a central theme. But this time around in Deadpool and Wolverine, I feel like it was appropriate, because I think the message was actually kind of important. So in my own words, the theme that I got from this: even if you have screwed up all your chances in your life to do at least something right, there's definitely still an opportunity to make things right, regardless of how many times you may be convinced that it might not be worth it anymore, because something could come around that could change all of that. And it'll be like, all of the experiences that I went through, even though it was horrible and I'm not really proud of it, it's brought me to where I am now. And I'd kind of take that like own mentality for myself, because life is weird, but you get Deadpool and Wolverine out of it, so that's something good. My overall rating for this movie is a 4 out of 5. I don't think I've given a movie a 5 yet, just because like I really haven't seen anything personally that would really get me to that level where I'm like, this is the most perfect movie ever. And I know everybody has their movie biases, so I think it might take me some time to actually get a movie that would be a 5 out of 5. Maybe if I start doing movie reviews for already released stuff instead of recent releases, I think that'd be very interesting, actually. But that'll happen at a later time, not now. It is 11:08 p.m. and I am gonna go to sleep. So, with that being said, thanks for watching this recap and review. If you want to catch up with anything else that I'm doing, you can follow my socials or subscribe to me here at JSheaMedia. With that being said, thanks for watching.